Hi and welcome to another narration presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and don't forget to smack the ass of that subscription button as well. Plus don't forget to share the video as well. This will help with YouTube's algorithm and will help promote the channel more. And if you would like to support the channel and help make it grow, all donations can be made to paypal.me/cryptidsroost and would be gratefully received. And if you enjoyed listening to the following story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line, or even give them a glowing review. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. And don't forget to check out the merch store. And if you would like an honourable mention, send in a snapshot of yourself with your purchase and I'll feature it in one of the videos. And if you are going to leave a dislike at all, please leave a comment as to why. That way I can see what you didn't like about the video and then I can look at possibly making those changes in further videos. Thank you. And finally, have you written a creepypasta story you would like me to narrate for you? And have you had any cryptid sightings or paranormal or supernatural encounters? If you would like to share your stories and encounters, you can send them in to cryptidsroost@gmail.com. And if you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. And all links will be listed below. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. The Taste of Fear. This fantastic story is written by Witchy Woman, a wonderful author over on Reddit's NoSleep. Can you taste it? I asked the bound man. Can you taste it? Yes, I can taste it, he sobbed as the sour bile rose in his throat. Good, I said as I pulled the blind over his eyes. He let out an inhuman wail as the darkness closed on him. I watched the wetness spread across his lap as I turned to leave him to his misery. I suppose I should start this tale from the beginning. Let me introduce myself. My name doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that I'm the person who gives justice for those who are either denied justice or are otherwise unable to get it for themselves. I'm the person who answers the prayers of those who've been wronged by society in ways that can't be righted. Most of the people I get justice for are innocents like children, mentally handicapped, and victims of extreme violence. Today's job was no exception. The request actually came across my desk 3 weeks ago, but I must do my due diligence and ensure that the request is truly for justice and not petty revenge. Nothing infuriates me more than petty revenge. So what if your neighbour's dog dug up your begonias? There are far worse atrocities happening every day. Get over yourself. My investigation of every request is critical to ensure that my mission, my purpose, is not being corrupted. It's vital that I not be used for corrupt purposes. The request was pretty standard. A trusted family member was left to care for a child, and the child died in a manner not keeping with the autopsy report. The parents didn't believe the story given by their family member, so they launched their own investigation. It turns out this family member, we'll call him FM for short, is a drug addict who was strung out the whole time they were supposed to be supervising the child. The initial autopsy report claimed accident, but a second autopsy authorised by the parents through their PI showed high levels of methamphetamine in the child's tox screen, as well as signs of physical and sexual abuse. My own investigation leads me to believe the initial autopsy was bought and has brought up evidence that this isn't FM's first round with this situation. It's go time. Something important to note before we continue. I am a vessel of justice, not revenge, and the difference is important. I'm not the person to contact if your neighbour's kids are bullying yours, or if your partner puts hands on you. I am the person to contact if an abusive partner causes your sibling, child or cousin to disappear with no trace, or if those bullies cause psychological harm that leads your kid to have a psychotic break and shoot up their school. With the investigation part of my job done, it was time for phase 1. You see, requests don't just have the name of the wronged person and the name of the perpetrator. Sometimes they include a request for a personal touch. This one included making this person terrified to the point that they have a mental break and are unable to recover from it. Some requests ask for death, but more frequently they ask for a fitting lifelong suffering to occur. Phase 1 started with FM's dealer. He enjoyed his IV drugs. So in order to start the process of creating true terror in him, I started with the drugs he took. Methamphetamine mixed with hallucinogenics is an interesting thing to watch. If you're not familiar with drugs, meth gives you the ability to stay awake for weeks at a time, and you're constantly moving and needing to do something, so you're twitchy, paranoid and jumpy. When you add hallucinogenics to that, the results are almost comical. I didn't start him off with a full dose. No, I mixed in just enough to make him think he was seeing something out of the corner of his eye. I kept increasing the amount of hallucinogens each time he visited his dealer, until he was injecting a 50-50 mix. Then the mind games really started. I would wait in dark doorways, alcoves and alleyways until he walked past me. Then I'd step out and toss a small firecracker in his direction and step back into the darkness while he was distracted. As the days progressed, I would randomly vary the size of the firecrackers, and sometimes I'd step out, stand in front of him, point, then disappear when he turned to run. I'd never appear in the same place twice, and a couple of times I showed up in his home. Each time he saw me, I wore a mask that was impossible to pin down any specific features, so that added an extra note of terror to the experience. I finally ended my terrorizing yesterday and captured him and brought him here to my cabin in the desert. I'll be honest, it was a little bit of a struggle to get him into the trunk of the car. You'd be surprised how much a terrified, strung out tweaker can fight, and how surprisingly strong they are. It's a good thing I keep a vial of Ativan in my kit. Even so, I'll be sporting a couple of bruises and a black eye for the next few days. Oh well, hazards of the job. When we got to my cabin, since he was still strung out for the moment, I tied him to one of my prisoner chairs. My prisoner chairs are made of welded steel and not only bolted to the floor, but bolted as well. The straps are made of braided leather, reinforced with carbon fibre fabric, wrapped in paracord, and locked under and behind the chair with unbreakable padlocks. There's no getting out of them without a key, and there's no reaching the locks unless you're already free. While waiting for him to come to, I made sure to secure the hood over his head better, so it won't come off when he starts thrashing around. He finally came to about 6 hours after I got him secured. I was relaxing and reading a book in the other room when I heard him groan. I sighed and put down my book. "Do you know why you're here?" I asked him softly. Where am I?" "That's no matter. What matters is if you know why you're here." No, I don't know why I'm here," he responded. "Man, my head is killing me. Bro, you got anything for the headache? I'm dying over here." At this point, I turned on the voice modulator in my mask and pulled the hood off his head. "What the fuck are you?" he screamed when he saw my face.
"What I am is of no importance. All that matters is ensuring that you know why you are here,"
I responded, sounding more like an 8-year-old child than an adult. Thanks to my voice modulator, I can make myself sound like whatever I want, thanks to this little investment. Why am I here?" he asked, starting to sob with terror.
"You're here for justice, FM. You're here because you wronged someone, then bribed the coroner to falsify the autopsy report, so you wouldn't be caught. You're here because of the terror and grief you inflicted on your family, and you tried to get out of having to own up to it and paying the price. You are here to be punished according to your crimes."
"Am I going to die? I don't want to die," he sobbed.
"Oh no, you're not going to die. You're going to wish for death, but you're not going to die. Not here, not at my hands at least."
What ensued next was almost 24 hours of pure psychological torture. I gave him his special mix of drugs, playing various sounds of torture over the cabin sound system, rocked his room with a simulated earthquake, including bits of rock and plaster falling from the ceiling, blew fans with water through them at hurricane forces, turned the lights out and played thunderstorms complete with lightning strikes, and occasionally just left in the dark and silence. I think leaving him in the silent dark is what finally made his mind snap. I had just sat down to eat dinner when I heard the most inhuman wail come from his room, and I knew my job was done. I ate my meal at a leisurely pace, listening to him wail, scream and carry on. When he started apologising, begging for forgiveness and crying while telling me all of the sordid details of what he did to the child that brought him here, I knew it was time. Which brings us back to the beginning of this tale. "Can you taste it?" I asked the bound man. "Can you taste it?" Yes, I can taste it," he sobbed as the sour bile rose in his throat. "Good," I said as I pulled the blind over his eyes. He let out an inhuman wail as the darkness closed on him. I watched the wetness spread across his lap as I turned to leave him to his misery. I wasn't planning to leave him long, but I did have to get the car ready. This time I wasn't going to sedate him. No, I had to ensure the mental break was completed. After all, the customer is always right, correct? Obviously, he wasn't going to go back into the trunk, not with where his final destination was. It wouldn't be seemingly to drop off a patient out of the trunk of my car. Too many questions to answer. So I set the back seat up of the car, room for him to sit comfortably, covered the seat with plastic, then a towel. He is sopping wet and covered in his own urine, and that's a bitch to get out of upholstery. Once the car was ready, I got my vial of Nurcaron, a paralytic, and some more Ativan, and drew up just enough of both to last just over an hour, without knocking him out. I wanted him awake for this trip. I set him in the back seat with the blinds still over his eyes, and him being unable to move, and pulled out of the driveway. As I drove, I turned on an old radio show, War of the Worlds, and let him listen to the sound of the world ending as we made his last road trip. If I timed everything perfectly, which I did, we'd arrive at the hospital right as the recording ended. The whole trip was accompanied by the recorded broadcast and his whimpers of fear. Once he even wet himself again. When we pulled up to the ambulance bay, I stepped out, grabbed a gurney and started offloading him onto it. By the intensity of his screams, it's a good thing he was paralysed. I really didn't feel like adding to my bruises. I parked his gurney just inside the entryway with a note to contact my customer as they're his next of kin. and I made sure to include a signed and notarized power of attorney, making them his power of attorney as well. My part in getting justice for the family he wronged is done.